My neighbor hasn't left his house in 3 months, but I see him every night. I'm not the type to get involved in my neighbor's business. I keep to myself, nod politely when I pass someone on the street, maybe make small talk about the weather. That's it. I've lived on this street for 6 years without any real drama, and I prefer it that way. But for the past 3 months, something has been gnawing at me, something I can't explain. My neighbor, let's call him Dave, hasn't left his house in all that time. Not once. At first, I figured he was just a... Plenty of people do that these days. But after a couple of weeks, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. His mailbox was crammed full of letters and flyers. His trash can sat empty by the curb every collection day, week after week. Even his car, an old blue sedan, hasn't moved an inch since early June. Still, there were signs of life. At night, I'd sometimes see the flicker of a TV through his blinds. Occasionally, the faint hum of music or a muffled voice would drift across the yard. So I figured he was fine, until I saw him. The first time was about a month ago. I couldn't sleep and went downstairs around 2 a.m. to grab some water. As I passed the kitchen window, something caught my eye. Movement across the street. Dave was standing in his front yard. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, perfectly still. I almost laughed at how creepy it looked, like something out of a horror movie. Maybe he was stargazing or just clearing his head, right? I told myself it was nothing, but then it happened again, and again. Every few nights I'd glance outside and there he'd be. Same spot, same time, between 2 and 3 a.m., always standing there, never moving. After the 4th or 5th time, my unease turned into a gnawing pit in my stomach. It was wrong. There's no better way to describe it. The way he just stood there, hands at his sides, completely still, it didn't feel like watching a normal person. 2 nights ago, I decided to confront him. I stayed up late, peeking through the blinds until I saw him emerge from his house and take his usual spot in the yard. My heart was pounding as I slipped on my shoes and crossed the street. "Hey, Dave," I called softly. "Everything okay, man?" At first, he didn't react. He didn't even seem to hear me. I took another step closer, my skin prickling. "Dave?" His head twitched, just slightly. And then, without warning, he sprinted back into his house. No words, no explanation. Just turned and bolted like a startled animal. I stood there on his lawn, frozen. The front door slammed shut, and the house went completely dark. I didn't sleep at all that night. Last night was worse. It was just after 2:30 a.m. when I looked out my window, expecting to see him across the street like usual. But he wasn't there. At first, I felt relieved. Maybe he'd finally gone back to being, well, normal. Maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. Then I saw him. He wasn't in his yard. He was standing at the edge of my driveway. My heart jumped into my throat. I stumbled back from the window, breathing hard. I didn't want to look, but some horrible curiosity made me peek again. He was closer. A few feet up the driveway now, his head was tilted to the side, like a dog listening to a strange sound. Even in the dim light, I could see his mouth hanging slightly open, slack and unnatural. I didn't move. Neither did he. Minutes passed. Or maybe hours. I honestly couldn't tell. Finally, I heard my phone buzzing from the nightstand upstairs. I turned to grab it, to call someone, anyone. When I looked back at the window, he was gone. This morning, I did something stupid. I crossed the street to check his house in the daylight. The blinds were drawn tight and the air smelled sour like mildew and rot. I almost knocked on the door, but something stopped me. A feeling in my gut screamed, "Don't." Instead, I went around to peek through a small tear in one of the side windows. The living room was dark, but as my eyes adjusted, I realized what I was looking at. There was a figure slumped on the couch, skin gray, mouth slack, eyes clouded and empty. It was Dave. So now I don't know what I saw last night, or who or what has been standing outside my window at 2:30 every morning. But tonight I'm staying up. And this time, I'm locking every single door and window.